Association. As we know, it is said that while the rand had managed to advance against the US dollar, it had not been enough to offset the gains made by oil over the past few weeks. And joining me on the line is Brother Layton. He's going to be giving us more insight into, of course, expecting a very high fuel increase in the new year. A very good morning to you, sir.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, thank you so much for joining me on the News and Views at Salah Media here this morning. It's been a very difficult year for loads of people. Everybody's in a very tough situation from a financial point of view. Let's talk about this price hike.
Yeah, it's not going to come as welcome news. And I think, as you rightfully pointed out, it's coming at the end of a very difficult year. Not only are people having to isolate in their homes, but I think the financial impact of COVID-19 has been very severe for very many people. So the news that, beg your pardon, the news that we're going to have a petrol price hike, I don't think is going to be very welcomed. Mm-hmm. But the only silver lining, I think, is that fewer people will obviously be traveling.
Right.
And because people will be using their vehicles less, it may be that this price hike is not going to affect them in a big way. We know at least until the middle of January that there is, we've got this curfew in place and we are under lockdown 3. Mm-hmm. Many businesses may decide to continue to have staff working from home, so that may be at least one benefit. But, a price hike is a price, and the knock-on effects of that may also still be problematic going forward.
I think it's a very serious problem because it's the affordability situation here. Because, I mean, if you're looking at 43 cents more for a litre of petrol while diesel's going up by 55 cents, that's, although it sounds so little, once you fill up your tank, that's actually when you feel the pinch. And, as we're saying, we're grateful for the fact that there's this lockdown 3 for now, and that the schools are opening more towards the end of, the month in January. But still, it's affecting a lot of other companies. There's people that are out there that are still working, that are having to produce, and it's going to also affect them in a big way. And as we know, with this particular, second wave, we don't even know what to expect. The affordability factor with companies as well is going to be a big issue.
No, it certainly is going to have a huge impact. And I think, we're a very road freight reliant society. So you will find that a lot of goods are being transported, from Cape Town and Durban inland and further up to the Northern Province. So, that all costs money. And when you look at an increase of, say, 55 cents a litre to diesel, mm-hmm. Which is what many of these vehicles are using, over the distances that are being travelled and the amount of fuel that is used, that amounts to quite a significant impact on their bottom line. Now, we've seen in the past that those increases to those operational costs are then passed on to consumers. So while you're going to be paying a little bit more for petrol, you may not necessarily feel it on a huge tank. It will impact you, no doubt. But I think the effects downstream are something that we've also got to be cognizant of. Things may become a little bit pricier. Those goods that you bought for R1.50 may now be R1.60.
Yeah, and that's exactly where
that stuff together,
that's exactly where I was coming to, Layton, because the thing is, there's this domino effect that happens at some point, because you find that the price of fuel has increased. The companies that are actually, bringing the produce from all over the place, it's costing them more in fuel. So what's happening inevitably, the price of food, the price of accessibility of clothing, all those things in the different spheres are actually going to be affected, because what's going to happen is, because it's costing the transport company more, there's this ricochet that's going to go on, and this really bad domino effect. And this is why I'm saying people are actually going to start suffering on a whole.
No, 100% agree with you. I think that there is You speak of this domino effect. That's absolutely what happens. And I think in a climate like South Africa, where we've already got economic pressures and people are struggling already, this is not going to come as great news. So I think, one of the things we always say to people is, when the price is adjusted and it's going up, make sure that you budget properly for it and you know what you are in for. So always know what you're paying for petrol. But if that price does go down again, don't necessarily not keep that money that you were saving. Don't spend that money you were saving. Keep it rather, for those months when the price goes up again. So hedge your bets in that way. But I mean, Nafisa, I totally agree with you. This is an increase and it's not welcome. It's the beginning of the year, and it is going to have a huge effect on a lot of different people.
Yes, and I mean, it's something we wouldn't be expecting because looking at the holistic point of the situation that we're in with the second wave, people have been constrained in so many directions, including the companies. And this is not being welcomed. I mean, what we're saying is, shouldn't government maybe do something with regard to the different funds that they have accessibility to be able to, not give us such that much of a hike as opposed to where we're at right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a question that government would need to answer. I know, there are obviously, some levers that are available to government to pull in terms of the fuel price, but there aren't very many. There are two main factors that influence the local fuel price. The one being the international petroleum price. Now, the South African government has got very little say in that price determination, and
Yes.
that price is determined by, location and geopolitical developments and all kinds of other outside factors. The other factor is the rand-US dollar exchange rate. Now, again, the South African government doesn't have very much input in terms of how, the rand falls against the US dollar, although it does need to create an environment of economic certainty. It does need to create an environment of policy certainty. It does need to create an investor-friendly environment. So those are things that can influence the value of the rand against the US dollar, and those are all long-term measures that need to be taken. An immediate solution, I don't think, is available to the government in terms of saying, well, let's throw just a lot of money at it. And, when we look at the priorities of government at the moment in terms of healthcare,
Yes.
specifically, that's where a lot of that funding is going to be concentrated.
Most definitely. And I mean, we're in dire situations as far as that goes as well. And I think this is the holistic problem with people, because they're saying now we're sitting in a situation where everything has escalated, and having to pay more for fuel is something that they can't do. So a lot of people are going to find themselves in a situation where, when they have to go back to work, the affordability of having to, fill that tank up in order to get there is going to be one of the problems that we're going to be facing coming into 2021.
Look, no doubt it's going to impact on people, and people are very reliant on their vehicles. So to suggest to somebody, well, just don't use your vehicle is not going to be the solution at all. And people sometimes have to travel considerable distances to get to where they need to be. Our advice is the following: use your vehicle only when you need to use your vehicle. So if you live around the corner from a store, or some place where you can walk rather than use your vehicle, then that's obviously the first thing that you need to do. So use your vehicle as sparingly as possible. And again, if you are in the fortunate position to be working from home, then that becomes a little easier. Then the second thing is always budget and make sure that you have enough money for your fuel. If your vehicle is a tool that you use to get to and from work and you cannot do without it, and public transport is not an option for you, or you've done the sums and public transport is more expensive than using your own vehicle, then you have to budget properly for that expense. And if that means cutting back on other items for you to use that vehicle, then that is something that you need to consider. But one of the things we will tell people is don't go into the new months without knowing exactly how much fuel you need and how much fuel you are going to be spending, how much money you're going to be spending on that fuel. So be aware of the mileage on your vehicle, be aware of what your consumption is, and be aware of how much money you have set aside for that. And if you need to, if you don't need to go over that, then you're good. But budget for it, and that's I think a central message that we'd like to get to people.
Yeah, no, I think that's very, very valuable information. Definitely, I mean, it's given people insight into how to actually plan for 2021. As far as that is concerned, what would you like to leave us with today? Layton, are you still on the line?
Oh, sorry, this line is really bad. I'm struggling to hear you.
That's
so
all
sorry.
right. What message would you like to leave us with this morning?
Oops, no.
No, we seem to be having a break in signal there. Can you hear me now? No, that we seem to have lost that signal. That was Layton Beard from the Automobile Association, giving us some insight, of course, to the increase and the hike in the fuel prices in January, but also how to get savvy with ourselves as far as the situation is concerned and how we can help ourselves deal with it in a better way. So that was some valuable information. We'd like to thank him for joining us. We're going to go for a quick break. Stay with us. We're going to be discussing something very important after this break.
Secure your very own copy of the Africa Muslims Agency 2021 Secular Islamic Calendar for just 70 Rand. This calendar has Salah times, the days of Ramadan, and essential Islamic information with a unique front cover, perfect for framing. Contact Africa Muslims Agency to secure your calendar. Call 011 834 8685. Africa Muslims Agency, inspiring the spirit of giving.
Enduring Boys College